Hey guys, welcome to my TSM versus Clutch review. This is a highly requested review, and the games were honestly, to be frank, pretty disappointing from TSM's end. So we're going to be very critical of the mistakes that happen, why it's happening, and some of the problems with it, because that's what people are most curious about. What is wrong with TSM, and like what went wrong, and what can we expect from them in the gauntlet. So first of all, let's start with the roster decision. They benched Acadian after naming him the starter about 3 weeks ago, and they put in Spica. And they didn't even put Acadian or Grig on their substitute list, so there's no way they can play. Honestly, there must have been some disagreement regarding the management or the roster end, or from like the players, because to not even put him as a sub is either like some internal stuff, or they also don't have faith in their bot lane with Zben and Funi, and they felt the need to put in tactical and treats. And from watching the academy games, I don't think there's a world where tactical and treats are better, even with Zben and Funi underperforming. So I have no idea what's going on internally, but it has to be some shit. And yeah, I'm pretty curious to seeing what TSM will say after the gauntlet, if they make Worlds, if they don't make Worlds, because yeah, something's gonna come out, and I just can't imagine them deciding that Acadian shouldn't even be on the roster. So who knows? But yeah, like just a lot of speculation going on. Let's wait for something to come out from TSM end. Don't listen to the Reddit comments. Don't listen to people on talk shows other than Listen Loco and Face Check. But yeah, let's get started with the review. So, Clutch versus TSM. Let's go. But honestly, like, the Reddit comments right now are fucking garbage. The Reddit threads and Reddit speculations are garbage. Until TSM says something, just don't listen to the speculation, or unless an insider says something, don't listen to the speculation. There's like people talking about like some of the tweets that Acadian liked, and some of the tweets that DeMonte liked, and like from DeMonte interviews saying like they disrespected Acadian. Like until actual information comes out, it's all speculation, and we're just like making stuff up as we go. Like actual comments will come out from TSM one way or another. Like stuff like this never stays quiet. So yeah, I mean, my best advice to anyone like that really cares about TSM or that's really curious, just wait till TSM says something. There's no need to listen. Alright, let's check the bans. So there was a Yuumi ban here that's not showing. I'm not sure why. Rumble, one of Huni's best champions. Very obvious as a ban. Tristana. DeMonte has actually shown he's very proficient on Tristana, and it seems like something TSM doesn't want to play versus. Lyra, or not Lyra, Silas, one of Lyra's best champion. Banning those out. Yuumi, one of the best first picks from blue side, obvious ban. Ezreal, Sona, these are more sniper bans towards the ban. The one that really questions me is Ezreal. I don't think Zben's been very impactful on Ezreal, but I guess Clutch thinks otherwise. Also, one thing from Clutch side that most people don't give them respect for, and I at least don't even care about Clutch, is they've actually really improved in the last few weeks. I was one of those people where I thought Clutch was a garbage team. When you go back and watch their recent games, especially in the last 2 weeks before the Clutch TSM series, they've improved a lot. Lyra went from being one of the worst junglers to actually having an identity by playing around the solo lanes, and Huni and DeMonte really stepped up. I remember the original quote from Freak: don't think of Huni as Huni. Think of Huni as a regular top laner. Just erase everything that has to do with his name. But he actually did step up. And DeMonte was one of the worst NA mids, but with Pobelter underperforming and DeMonte improving, he definitely went from the worst mid in the entire region to someone very like functional, and to someone that actually carries his own weight, especially when he's playing these playmaking heavy champions like Akali, Kiana. The entirety of Clutch completely changed. And also Cody and Vulcan have been a solid bot lane throughout. That's one part of Clutch I always gave credit to, and that has just been consistent and been getting better and better and better. One thing I remember from Cody, from Immortals days, from 100 Thieves days, is This guy is a pretty decent laner, but when it comes to teamfight, he is such a liability. There were so many times where he would get insta-deleted when he had so much items and when he had so much power, and it was so disappointing to see. And now Cody is like, haven't died in the last 6 games while still being relevant in teamfights. He completely changed and completely shored up a core weakness in his part. So yeah, all of Clutch is very new. It's like a remix, okay? So don't think of Clutch from what you know. You have to experience and take in Clutch for what they become. All right, let's get started. Akali first pick. As I said, one of Demonte's best champions. This is almost the 4th ban by taking it away, and both Bjergsen and Broken Blade, excellent Akali players. Gangplank. I mean, Gangplank, one of the most obvious counters into Akali. Skarner. Man, this Skarner pick really haunted TSM. And it's really interesting because Jarvan and Sejuani are both up, and Clutch is opting into Skarner. This shows their preference for Skarner, and this shows like how much Clutch understand themselves. Because I mean, for most teams, like Jarvan or Sejuani there is a no-brainer, but for Clutch to go for Skarner, they know Champions Lyra is good on, and they know Champions Lyra is bad on, and they are giving him champions that he's just actively good on, and staying away from the ones he's bad on. He's not a great Sejuani player, and he's not a great Jarvan player, and that was part of like what hurt them before, because they really didn't account for the player they had, and they just played what was meta. Xayah, Rakan from TSM, not the worst thing in the world, but Rakan into Skarner is a little bit meh, because Rakan's tankiness is based on his mobility, and you have to be in melee range to do Rakan stuff, and Skarner really fucks with that. But still a good bot lane nonetheless. Sivir. So Sivir is one of the classic counter picks into Xayah. You get to push in the Xayah. In team fights, you can be as efficient as Xayah. And your short range doesn't matter as much versus Xayah because she's also short range, and it's also a very good champion for Cody's son. Let's see what they ban. Would love to see them target the junglers. I think they end up banning Jarvan here, which was a really great ban in my opinion, because as a Sivir, you're a short range AD carry, and it's a nightmare getting Jarvan ulted. You have to flash out every single time. So, but like playing versus champions like Sejuani, a lot easier. So the Jarvan ban here makes a lot of sense. Really like it from them. Alistar, just one of Vulcan's best champion. TSM doesn't want it to have it. Aatrox, a little bit weird in my opinion, but once you think through it a little bit, it's pretty understandable. I think it's because they feel like they can send Akali mid and put Aatrox top lane versus Gangplank, which is something GP doesn't want to play into. But I would imagine Broken Blade has more counter picks into GP than just Aatrox. And also, I would say stuff like Irelia Sejuani is something that GP should be scared of, but TSM hasn't shown that great of top 2v2 prowess, and it was one of their strongest elements from Spring that didn't continue, and also Irelia did get nerfed, so maybe they aren't scared of it as much. And the meta thing nowadays is more so to play Aatrox into GP than to play Irelia into GP. Morgana ban, another counter into Rakan that they're banning. Nautilus, a good pick into Rakan because you can ult the Rakan, and Rakan's mobility gets hampered a lot, and whenever he E's back to a carry target, the ult follows and it might end up knocking up 2 people. Sejuani, just a very meta pick, no questions there. Kled, another really nice pick into the Gangplank, pairs really well with the Sejuani. Kled gets bonus attack speed from his W, allows him to proc Sejuani stun very easily. Sejuani CC into Kled damage, another thing that's really strong. So let's look at both comps. TSM, what do they have going for them? Kled is a split pusher, but also a flanker. So he's like, let's say side lane / flank. Those are the biggest things that Kled provides. You can dive with Kled, but the best Kled play is push up a lane and then dive another lane, or push up a lane and dive it with your jungler or with someone behind you. Sejuani is tank and engage. One of the best engagers in the meta, one of the best tanks in the meta, just a very good jungler. Akali, you can team fight, but she's stronger in a split push situation. She's okay in a team fight too, but a lot of times Akali will get utilized to start plays on side lanes, like just in big open areas. I guess it also depends on how you use your smoke, but you like being in small skirmishes more so than full-blown team fights as Akali. For Xayah, she's just a carry. A lot of AD carries are just a carry. And Rakan's an engage. That's the biggest tool he provides. Engage and playmaking. So the comp that TSM has, I would say, is 1-4. It's a very good 4-1 comp. Akali in a side, Kled in a side. You can also do 1-3-1, but it's not as TSM style and much more difficult to pull off. So I'd imagine they would go more for like a 1-4 style with Kled in a side lane and really enabling her, or Akali in a side lane and really enabling her. Yeah, I mean, just a standard 1-4 comp. I would say strengths are strong solos. Weakness of this comp: when solos fall behind, this comp it can be really garbage. Like, need to stay ahead. Snowball. This comp needs to snowball. So on the right side, if you look at this comp, let's see what GP provides. He's a carry, and he also scales. GP scales incredibly well team fight. Skarner is a pick champion. Skarner wants to make picks. Skarner is also a tank. Karma is a lot of utility and team fight. And then for Sivir, she's a carry, but she's also very strong wave clear. And for Nautilus, Nautilus brings a lot of CC. I can put tank, but supporters honestly don't get that tanky nowadays and you get blown up. For Clutch, their biggest strength is team fighting. They are a very strong team fight team. When you have GP, Karma, and Sivir all on the same team, also with Nautilus, like in full-blown team fights, it's very strong. One other thing they have is they're very good scaling team. Where TSM, later the game goes, the worse and worse it's gonna get. For Clutch, the scaling is really nice. One bad thing I would say is, how to put it? Hard to execute on the engage. I would say a lot of soft engages. They have a lot of speed ups, and their engages are low CC, or low range. Skarner engage is very low range. Nautilus engage is very low engage. So you need to kind of speed people up, and you need TSM to make a mistake, or you need to create situations where you have vision and TSM doesn't have vision, and you need to force them into it. So their engage might be something that's problematic for them. If they're not in control of the game, their engage mechanics aren't the greatest in the world. So yeah, that's kind of my overview of both comps. Let's get started. We can skip through to the game start. Earlier on, both junglers are mostly going to be farming. It's a Skarner, it's a Sejuani. Unless you do some insane creative gank, there really isn't a lot of ways like you can get ganks early. Like Sejuani can do something crazy, but she's not even starting red buff, so probably no crazy gank. Looks like just Skarner's going to do 3 camps and base for Predator, very normal. 1, 2, 3 base, and then go boss side, very normal camp. Looks like Sejuani's just doing the full clear. Yeah. Also, one thing interesting is they swapped GP and Karma's, where now Karma's top lane and GP is mid lane. This is done for two reasons. Once they saw Kled top, they wanted to make sure GP is laning versus Akali, so they sent GP mid to match the Akali. And another reason that this is done is to make sure GP doesn't have to lane versus Kled. Kled into Karma is still a good matchup for the Kled. Yeah, here you can see the trade, what happens when Karma lets Kled have distance. It's a matchup that Kingzone was already playing even before the Kled buff in Rift Rivals, so very much helps both lane by clutch lane swapping. So one reason why Seju's here is just in case Skarner is going to gank, and also it allows Broken Blade to push all the way up without being scared. Because when your wave gets stuck, it can be really bad, right? You recall and your wave is still frozen, but when the wave hits turret, it's gonna hit turret and it's gonna loop all the way around and push back to you. Whenever, think of it this way, if the wave is meeting closer to you, it eventually has to push out because your creeps are gonna get to that wave first and the wave is gonna get bigger and bigger. So it's very important Broken Blade can push all the way in. Sejuani waiting here, she might have waited even in the brush if she felt like Kled was gonna have a hard time pushing, but just making sure that your top laner who's a carry can have this wave in a good manner. Lyra just farming along. I think Sejuani stops moving all the way there because she sees Lyra on the Wraith, and she feels like, oh, the jungler's not going to be topside, I can just recall, I don't need to babysit it all the way. And you can see Bjergsen down CS to GP, just normal part of Akali versus GP. GP used to be a counter pick into Akali even when Akali was more OP, like before her 2 nerfs came, just due to being able to constantly poke out the Akali while not getting poked back and abusing the hell out of Grasp. Now that Akali doesn't even have spell vamp from her Q anymore, it's even more disgusting. Nice gank from Spica. Huni wanted to punish Bjergsen for TPing back with barrels. They were able to get a good gank off. Lyra just being spotted on a ward. So this was a really fucking big mistake from Spica, and I didn't quite get it right the first time. But what's really interesting here, you see this ward, it spots out Vulcan, it spots out Lyra, and they know Huni's here. So they know there's 3 people on this side. So there's 2 here and 1 here, and they have prio bottom. So in current state, it's fine for Spica to river control because they have more people. They ward. You can see how defensive Skarner is. They got their vision down. So they got their vision down. They got their vision down here. Skarner's here. And they should have seen Nautilus walk in here. But they actually didn't see this. Or they didn't care about it. Spica is moving towards the river with Core JJ moving down. And with Lyra clearing out wards. So now it's no longer 2 people on this side. It's 1 person here, 1 person here, 2 people here. TSM is spreading and TSM is starting to give up river vision. Or not core, my bad, Smoothie moving down. And he's moving back into the river. Like, he should know the entire team is kind of giving up river control and is saying, hey, we got what we needed. We have priority bottom. Bjerg can't get priority mid because he's a Akali versus GP. And he's checking into these brushes in the river. Like, this is where I feel like a lot of the problem of TSM comes in. They're not in coordination with their jungler, or their jungler is trying to get stuff done without the help of laners. This is a state of the game where they don't have control, or they're not in a position where they're using their control. Core JJ, or not, oh my god, I keep saying Core JJ. Smoothie is moving back to lane. Like, Bjergsen doesn't have priority mid. they're actively giving up river control where their jungler is like searching for people in the brushes. So yeah, this was a really weird part of the game for me for TSM. Now you have people TPing in. Broken Blade comes in. They're able to pick up the kill on Huni with Smoothie coming in. Zben TP's mid. But yeah, it was just such a weird thing for Spica to check in. Maybe the call was, we have TPs, we can do this, but with Bjerg not having priority and with Smoothie moving towards bot lane, it just was so weird. Now after that exchange, Lyra and Vulcan getting back river control. It was just so awkward of him to check in there. GP ult coming down nicely. Bjerg did his best to make sure he can get damage on GP, and they were able to get the kill, but still, such a weird way to play. This was so good by Zben, and I think one thing that went underrated this series, like the 90% of talk is TSM sucks. TSM sucks, what happened to KDM, burned down everything, killed the coaching staff, killed the management, just fucking destroy the brand altogether. But one thing that went so under the radar was how well Zben played this series. You can see Spica here, you can see Smoothie here, like they want to get this gank off. And they know they have wars here, so it's not going to be an easy gank. Zben placing down ward and getting hooked here was all a bait. Like he knows he's doing this to make sure he can get them baited, and he did it perfectly. They're able to get the kill even without Spica like participating in the gank. Just very nicely done bait from Zben. Smoothie waiting outside of vision, coming in vision. Zben got hooked on purpose and able to kill Vulcan. After the kill, it looks like Vulcan walked back and there was sort of a lull. I'm not sure what TSM did, but they're really behind in tempo and CG was able to take the dragon. I really wish they showed us what happened during the replay because I'm not sure how this happens. TSM literally just got a kill, and for some reason, the support that died is going faster to dragon than the support that just got the kill. So really confusing to me. Oh man, this gank was so terribly done, and this gank should have been 100% a kill. So Broken Blade on top of Demonte, he used ult in middle to get a knockup, and he's flashing early so Demonte can't break the tether. Oh, god damn. This ult's missing. Cause Broken Blade is a Klett, they could have waited until the stun procs to use the ultimate. And another thing is, even if they tower dive, they can get the stun off and then Broken Blade dismounts and it'll also reset the aggro. There's two ways they can do this. If they feel like the gank is coming early, using the ult a little bit earlier and a little bit out of vision. Or the second way is getting the stun first, proc it, auto, ult, auto. And that's a lot of burst damage onto Demonte, and they should have been able to get the kill. But they do it in the weirdest way possible, and this gank ends up turning for clutch. Now, another thing that Clutch does really well here afterwards is transitioning right into an objective, right into Herald. They know the enemy jungler is dead. They TP Sivir up top, and they're not going to waste time by just trying to push. They're going to get Herald right away. And TSM has a chance to return kill Vulcan here. Vulcan is going to be paper here if they do this properly. So they're going on Vulcan before he's able to auto Smoothie or auto Zben or use any of his spells, so he doesn't get the Aftershock proc. It is incredibly important to get Aftershock as early as possible whenever you're getting dope. So he doesn't get the Aftershock proc at all. And here, if Zben ults this, and Vulcan doesn't get Aftershock, and he dodges the ultimate, and Vulcan doesn't have flash, it's an immediate kill, but Zben's not able to ult as a reaction, and he's ulting afterwards so he doesn't take additional damage from turret. So 1, they don't get the kill on Vulcan. 2, they stay to try to get this turret, which is a mistake. They're just going to get turret plating, and they are going to fall behind in terms of tempo in dealing with Clutch's Herald usage. It might look like it's worth for them to stay here and get turret plating, but just they're so behind on tempo. Actually, on second thought, that was correct. If they back there, then they would have been even more fucked because they couldn't get top. So they needed to get that turret. But it's just a really awkward situation where you have to stay even though you're going to be behind on tempo because you can't block the enemy play, and you're going to be behind tempo on the next play. It's just such a awkward situation to be in for TSM. You can see like how Clutch members are already recalled and they're back on the map, while TSM members haven't even recalled yet. This is where tempo becomes more and more of a problem. Showing the regank. Alright. Well, let's see what happens after the regank. So able to catch the Monte. Nice. This is what, so I'll talk a little bit about this. So TSM recognizing that, oh, actually what the hell is the Monte doing here? It looks so weird. So Bjerg is waiting here. They placed the ward here. Oh, this was actually a really nice ward. They placed the ward here after they killed turret. So they saw Demonte walking here. That's why Bjerg is able to trap this. Why would he even want to walk here though? It makes so much more sense for him to walk like this, or walk even this way. Let's see what he wanted to do. This is just, I guess he wanted to help Lyra with river control. But yeah, this is what TSM need to do more. Bjergsen has Hextech Gunblade very early in the game, 12 minutes into the game. When your Akali has Hextech Gunblade early, you want to play towards your Akali. You want to enable your Akali. Stuff they want to do. Have Broken Blade hide behind the Akali and use ult as Akali's using ult and going on a target and using Hextech Gunblade. Have Sejuani and Rakan control the side of the map that Akali is on and really enable her to dive and really enable her to rotate. Like, they want to play towards Akali and they want to play towards Bjerg much as possible. And we can see in the next few minutes what TSM does, and it is nothing like what they need to be doing. Controlling this area, that's great. Okay, they're gonna reset. Great catch from Bjerg, showing it again. Okay, they're gonna reset. They're setting up for Dragon. Smoothie picked up a QSS because he's versus a Skarner, and you need a QSS as a squishy Rakan to survive. Alright, remember what we talked about. Side lane plays, good for TSM. Fighting as 5, not so great as TSM, especially, just look at the map state right here, guys. Look at the map state. Kled top. No one else top for Clutch, so Kled can push all the way. Bot lane, no one here. TSM has decent vision control, can push all the way. Situations TSM wants to create is thin Clutch out. Force Clutch to go deal with the side lane. Clutch, you want this Dragon? We're gonna stay ahead of you in tempo. We're gonna constantly force you to check into us. We're gonna constantly force you to deal with these waves. We're gonna make it awkward for you. There's still 30 seconds left on Dragon. Kled is pushing topside. Like, you see Skarner and Nautilus here. Like, why is this happening? Like, TSM is TPing, and they're actively deciding to fight this. Like, look at the mid wave. You haven't even dealt with mid wave. Look at top. Force Clutch to deal with this. Push this out. Force Clutch to deal with side lanes. Clutch does not want to be in side lanes. This like grouped up situation for Clutch where Karma's together, where Nautilus and Skarner's together is so good for Clutch. Like, just take a look at their items. Like, just take a look. Look at their solo lane items. 0 defensive items. Not even a completed item on Karma. Just a Trinity on Gangplank. These champions, when they're in side lanes and you're versus an Akali with a Kled backup, or with a Skarner, or with a Sejuani backup, or with an even Rakan backup, they're going to melt. They will not be able to survive like being in a side lane. They're going to have to be extremely scared. But they actively decide to go for this like mid vision control while they could just play for side lanes. It's just, I'm speechless. You have Bjerg level 10. I'm sure he's very close to level 11. You have Hextech Gunblade finished on him. Just abuse the fact that your strongest player is ahead on an extremely strong side laner and play towards it. I really, really disliked TSM's active decision to fight S5 here. I would have so much rather they play for these side lanes and push up and force Clutch into awkward situations. Even if this fight goes well for TSM, I think it's bad because there's better situations they could have forced. So they group up this situation. Kled TP'd. Kled shows on vision here, so they're able to chase down Kled later. But it was just such bad decision making. Just absolutely tragic to not play for side lanes and to not force Clutch to deal with them where they can be stronger. So now they end up giving free Dragon, and Bjerg ends up going to the side lane anyways. Imagine this is the Kled pushing this all the way down. Imagine Akali's all the way here. Like, it's so difficult for Clutch to fight situations like this. And when they're like trying to cut off TSM like this, like that situation's so much better. Force them into you, spread them thin. If Bjerg makes it out when Clutch is trying to cut them off here, if they're trying to kill an Akali while the Kled is pushing top lane, it's so good for TSM. They can start pushing mid, they can start forcing down top, or they can try to collapse on the Akali. There's so many things. It just would have forced Clutch into such an awkward situation versus TSM forcing themselves into a 5v5, which is exactly what TSM wants. Kali level 11, blue buff with Gunblade. Please play towards that lane. Now Clutch is carried. Like, you see how much the items changed in like the last 2 minutes. Luden's complete, BF bot, double longsword bot, righteous glory bot, essence reaper with BF complete. Like, the last 2 to 3 minutes, I think that was the biggest time window for TSM where they're like, my Akali has a Gunblade, you guys don't have anything, come fight us. Another awkward situation, TSM starting full on 5v5. It's just so tragic to watch them draft comps with extremely strong solo laners and opt into these 5v5 again and again. We're gonna try to control mid. Bjergsen walking to a side lane, has TP though. This is not how you want to be using TP. Like, you're not setting up a flank or anything. Like, everyone's coming in from the same angle. This angle is bad for Zeben. Zeben has to walk all the way around because he's an AD carry. Like, there's no flank of any kind going on for TSM. Like, look, Zeben has to walk all the way around and get onto the same side as the team. Spica has to back off after that engage. Like, even though this turns out even, you see how bad of a fight it is for TSM and the kind of angles that are being created. TSM wants Akali flanking on the Karma, flanking on the Gangplank, flanking on the Sivir. These like squishy targets that she wants to eat up, not coming from the same side as the rest of the team. It's just so weird. Someone on the team has to say no to all these stupid 5v5 plays they're setting up for. So here's a situation that's kind of awkward. Loco, you said to play for side lanes. Look, TSM is playing for side lanes. They're playing for side lanes while Clutch is taking their mid turret. See, they can't play for side lanes. See what happens when they try to play for side lane? Well, here's the problem. There's a certain thing called tempo. If I'm on the side lanes first and pushing the side lanes out and getting to your turret and then disappearing, then Clutch can't do this. If Clutch groups first or wins a fight and they're on the turret, then TSM can't side lane. It's just a game of, am I going to get my setup first? Am I going to start split pushing first before you can 5-man group and vision control and force down mid? It's this constant push and pull of who can do their setup first and who can get their thing started. Of course, things like TP comes into play. Of course, things like vision comes into play. But before all that, TSM had the opportunity. League, in a sense, is a turn-based game. I get a turn to do something. You get a turn to do something. If on my turn, I don't execute what I need to be doing, then it becomes your turn because I either didn't execute properly or you can do your thing while my play isn't strong enough. It's just TSM had a chance and had a tempo advantage to do what they wanted, and they didn't create anything out of that situation. And now the chance is all back to Clutch. I mean, they did create things out of that situation. The things they created were awkward 5v5 stuff. This like Clutch going to deal with side lanes, this should have happened first before TSM lost turrets. Ay, ay, ay. This play right here, this is called shadowing. When a solo laner shadows another solo laner. This should have been done so much earlier. This is some of the most disappointing things from TSM. I know for a fact Bjergsen knows how to shadow. I know for a fact Tony's an extremely smart coach and they talk about playing towards side lane. Like, I know for a fact Smoothie's experienced to call for 1-3-1. I know for a fact Bjergsen knows how to be an active solo laner, an active split pusher. Like, this is something that I know for a fact TSM does. Like, I know Tony well, I know Bjergsen well, I know Smoothie well. They're extremely smart and experienced people. And the fact that like they're doing these things later on in the game means there's something wrong, because these are things like they know. Like, people say stuff like, oh, TSM's so fucking stupid, how come they don't know how to do these things? Like, of course they know. Like, there's some shot calling problems or there's some nervousness. Like, they should have called these things all before and like actually be able to execute on it. This shadow play that they were attempting, they could have done this like 10 minutes earlier when Akali had Gunblade and she was just level 11. I guess that's not 10 minutes earlier. Oh man, this is another disaster play. Akali in a side lane versus GP. GP no defensive items yet. Decent enough situation for Akali, and especially because they have this like unwarded path of vision, like Broken Blade. What if he waits right here with the Akali and tries to kill the GP? But instead, what does Clutch want? Full-blown 5v5s in mid lane. And TSM just gives it to them. They want this fight. Clutch wants this fight so badly. They want to get this full-blown 5v5. They go for it. Them's able to disconnect and engage. Oh my god, and TSM just gives it to them again. Like, they give them the 5v5 engage instead of staying on bot lane and utilizing the side lane. Like, there's no flank going on. You can see this clear line, right? What is this line? This is Clutch territory. This is TSM territory. TSM hates this kind of situation. TSM hates like this 5v5 angle. They want to come in from the side. They want to create flank angles. But none of that's being done. And they're opting into this like 5v5 team fight where Clutch can do a really good job of placing down big gangplank souls. Make it super easy for Karma and Saber to kite. Like, they can just run this way. Like, as a kite comp, you hate getting flanked. You hate people being behind you and cutting off angles. And TSM's doing none of that. Like, a Kled and a Kali don't function well when it's tanks in the front and carries in the back. And they're just opting into such suboptimal teamfight situations. Like, it doesn't matter that Smoothie messed up his engage. It doesn't matter if Spica messed up his engage there. Just that fight itself is doomed. Clutch able to get 20-minute Baron because they picked off 2 people. All they have to do is mark Spica. They check Spica's there. Demonte flashing over and rooting him right away because they know all we have to do is kill the Sejuani there and they have no shot. Great job by Zven to disengage, but after this disengage, there's no need to engage, just back up. There's nothing to get done. Just run. Just run. Play off the side lane. It just... I just cannot come to the conclusion that TSM didn't understand how to play this comp. Also, really weird thing from Clutch. So they have this wave pushing in and they have this wave pushing in and they want to unlock this quadrant. They want to unlock this quadrant to be able to rotate between 2 lanes. That's why they're coming in here instead of playing with the wave. But here's the thing. It's something that C9 does a lot and it's something that a lot of teams have picked up on. So when you're versus a Baron team, here's the problem. When they have Baron and they're split pushing 2 lanes, it means that they're going to be able to get turrets on you and be in a really good situation to siege because split pushing 2 lanes with Baron is a really practiced play. So the solution to that is start a fight on the team before they're able to utilize the Baron. So Baron does give flat stats. It does give you AP and it does give you AD. But the strong part about Baron isn't the AP or the AD getting part. The strong part about Baron is the ability to siege by buffing up your minions and buffing up your cannon minions. And you can deny teams that ability to siege if you open the fight on them first. And this is what TSM is doing. Denying them the ability to siege by waiting in brushes and forcing a fight. Like, as a team without Baron, like, that's one of your best plays. Don't let them get to your inhibitor and start the fight first. And so as the team with Baron, you want to be extremely careful and don't let people do that. And here Clutch wasn't careful enough and they're just like walking into things like without vision. Just wait for TSM to show on the waves here. So these like specks of brilliance is why this game is really disappointing. TSM fully deserved to lose this series, but when I see moments like this, there is an inkling of a good team in there somewhere. It's just not all complete and it's just not showing in certain parts of the games. Like, they knew exactly, like, we can't let them split with Baron here. We're gonna fucking lose the game. We're gonna lose inhibitors. Like, they knew exactly Like, that's a harder play to pull off than like some of the side lane plays I was requesting, but they are able to do this play. They're able to recognize this part. See how easy it is for Clutch once they get the setup? Yeah, once they get the setup and like GP hits barrels on, it's just impossible for TSM to defend the turret. So the only play they had was to wait in jungle and get the plays. Game's realistically over. A huge problem that happens after this recall is now Gangplank is so strong, it's hard for Bjergsen to match him. Gangplank is a level up. Cody has 2.5 items. Karma has Ardent. There just isn't opportunities for TSM to split push anymore. Like now, it's not as like free as it was before, where Akali sees GP in a side lane and she's like, oh, delicious. Oh man, I'm gonna just kill this GP. Oh man, this is a point where I can really pressure them. Like, that's not even the case anymore. TSM can't win in a side lane. TSM can't win in a 5v5. This is like states of the game where game is realistically over and you're waiting for the other team to make a mistake or for your team to make a huge outplay. Like, if TSM can beat, if the Akali can beat GP in a side lane, then they at least have like a method of winning the game, but that's not even sure anymore. They don't have a method of winning the game other than a mistake from CG. There is no real win conditions anymore. Like, GP has 3 items with IE now. And remember what we talked about, CG having shitty engage? Like, a lot of CG having shitty engage is made up by the fact that TSM has to check into them. They can't wait and they can't maintain neutral position. They can't push side lanes because now they're in a state where CG has vision, CG has control over Baron, and we have to check into CG and we have to put ourselves in awkward situations. And it's so much more easier to engage when you have to walk into them. And that's the situation that CG has created. TSM has to walk into them. TSM has to be scared. Oh, are they starting Baron? Do they have full vision control? And nope. Now that situation's starting. So CG just walks in, able to fish someone out. This is a god tier play from Spica to be able to get that Baron, but it really doesn't change things in the big picture. It's a nice Baron still, but it doesn't change anything. Does this mean TSM is going to win late game? Nope. Does this mean Akali is going to beat GP in a side lane? Nope. It does buy them time, but realistically, it really doesn't change anything, and CG is still so much stronger as a team. All it does is buy them time. Like, Bjerg can push a side lane, but it's not going to change the outcome. CG has to make huge mistakes. Look at this fight setup. Look at how people look at Vulcan. Look at Lyra. They're gonna try to make a shield like this, and then the carries wants to be behind their shield. So the shield is gonna walk up this way, and the carries are gonna walk back this way. And there's no one flanking from this angle. Like, these wards from Clutch, this ward from Clutch is all to prevent the flanks, to make sure they can't come in like this. Clutch did such a great job of not allowing an opportunity from TSM to flank and get on top of the Karma, get on top of the Sivir. Like, they're very aware how they lose to TSM is TSM getting on top of their backline. You can see, look at the movements. Carries moving in the back, tanks up front. And when the fight is getting started, carries in the back. The only one that's vulnerable is Huni, but it's a gangplank with flash and with fruits. Like, he's just not gonna die. Flash is out, now 3 carries in the back, tanks up front, really easy fight for clutch. Still, the tanks are the only ones taking damage, carries in the back, very safe. Karma getting multiple rotations of shield off, carries in the back. You see how clutch really wanted to maintain tanks in the front, carries in the back, and they maintained it throughout the whole fight. And all their vision is to prevent clutch from getting on top of their backline. Clutch knew their win condition really well, and I'm not sure if TSM knew their win condition as well. TSM had to realize like they couldn't match them in the 5v5 team fight, but they didn't. Like, they allowed them to get matched in the 5v5 team fight so many times. Like, TSM just had to stay on side lanes. So that's game 1. Let's head over to game 2. So game 2, Clutch going with the same kind of bans. Ezreal, Sona against carryover from game 1. TSM banning out Akali on their own, banning out Rakan on their own, and then now they're gonna have to last ban Yuumi. I actually didn't like this from TSM. I much would have preferred if they first banned Yuumi. I think that made a lot more sense. And Rakan is kind of showing like they don't have confidence in their own Rakan, and they don't want them to take it on 2 and 3. Because one thing that's definitely going to happen is they're going to first pick something here, right? They first pick something here that's not Rakan, that's not Xayah, and TSM can always respawn 1-2 Xayah Rakan. But when you respawn 1-2 Xayah Rakan, you are open to getting counterpicked, and that's something people are scared of. Like, so there are picks that can beat Xayah Rakan lane pretty heavily. There's like, most notably Draven lanes, like Draven Nautilus, or Draven Morgana. Even Draven Nautilus can be scary. And there's also other things like Caitlyn Morgana. I'm not sure what Clutch has in their back, but TSM is definitely afraid to just take Rakan here on 1 and 2. Maybe on their own accord from how they played Rakan, but also maybe considering that Clutch Gaming can counterpick both the AD and the support lane, and they don't want to play into a double counter. So when you draft it on red side, on 2 and 3, Xayah Rakan here, you can't double counter. You can only get 1 counter pick from 3, so that's why it's a little bit different. Alright, let's see what they end up first picking though. Sylas. It's the games, I actually think in terms of balance, game's not in a terrible state, especially on a pro level. There's problem regarding I would say how to say it, openness for certain comps, but in terms of like balance and the game, like certain champions being incredibly OP, other than Yuumi, there isn't really a must ban. So the game is very open. There are like OP-ish champion like Yuumi, after that Aatrox kind of, but there aren't like blatantly so OP like must ban, must pick. Seju into Sylas, probably not the best pick, and probably not something that's the most ideal. This Seju Corki, it's just like, we're not willing to play side lanes, let's just do team fight comps. The awkward thing about picking Sejuani when the enemy team has Sylas is like, people started playing Sylas into Sejuani, and that was the original counter. Her ult is so powerful, and so much of her power is budgeted there, and you being able to just yoink it away is so good. Sivir Tom. Sivir, just one of Clutch's best blind picks. Tom Kench, nice pick into Seju, opens them up for 1-3-1 if they need to. Braum. This is TSM saying, no more side lanes. Braum, Sejuani are just tank CC bots. That's the biggest thing they provide to the comp. So when they pick these, it means we are going to team fight. They're going to ban out. And the awkward thing here is they can ban out Corki counters. I mean, but Corki is a really good blind mid, so they can play whatever they need to. But the awkward thing here is they don't know where Silas is going. It's a flex. GP ban. Would love a Rumble ban here. If you're afraid, if you're a full-on teamfight comp, ban out GP, then ban out Rumble. Just makes way more sense. And then also, Clutch banning out Irelia because they don't want it paired with Sejuani. I really dislike the Skarner ban here because Silas into Seju is already a good matchup, and they're going to be a teamfight comp. So make sure you ban out the good teamfight champ in Rumble. This Caitlyn ban is also so weird for me. There's no way they do Caitlyn Braum. That's not an actual lane. Oh, I hate the Vayne pick here. Mark talks about it a little bit. Vayne into Sivir, not the greatest counter pick. The idea behind the counter pick is you beat the Sivir and you're able to solo kill the Sivir in a side lane, but what happens in a 1-3-1 situation? Sivir wave clears so much better than you. What happens in a team fight? Sivir is also a great team fighter. And when you pick Vayne and you have a full-on team fight comp and your only wave clear is coming from Corki, you become so limited in terms of being able to send Corki in a side lane. Corki can never be in a side lane when no one else has wave clear on the team. And the Rumble pick coming down like we talked about. Rumble Kiana. There's just no, like, they don't have enough bans to ban out Kiana and Rumble, but the Rumble ban should have definitely happened if they're banning out GP. Same pick with the Kled, trying to beat the Rumble. It's just, if you're going to play Kled, please play towards the Kled. If you're picking that champion, just don't leave it on an island. That doesn't make the Kled pick good. You have to play with it, especially when you got that Sejuani. Alright, let's talk about comps really quickly. Clutch. Both are teamfight comps. It's teamfight versus teamfight. Both teams want to teamfight. That is the main goal of it. What does TSM have better than Clutch? Engage. TSM has way more engage than Clutch. They got the Sejuani, they got the Kled. What does Clutch have? Damage. Clutch has way more damage than TSM. You got the Rumble, you got the Kiana, you got the Sivir, you got the Silas. They have way more damage. What is TSM lacking? TSM has very little wave clear. That's something TSM is going to have to watch out for, them not having wave clear. And one thing that Clutch has to be scared of is top lane 2v2. Rumble is going to need to push. Rumble is going to be vulnerable versus the Kled and the Sejuani, so that's a problem that Clutch has to deal with. How are we going to deal with Sejuani and Clutch from top side of the map? TSM, what they're going to have to deal with is how are we going to deal with our lack of mid clear, or lack of wave clear in the mid game. So yeah, the biggest things that we need to talk about: TSM, utilize your engage well. Clutch, utilize your damage well. Whoever's saying what TSM's lacking is brain, I'm gonna fucking ban you if you keep trying to trigger me. Whenever I do VOD reviews, that's where I'm the most vulnerable because I can't respond to the idiots in chat. So you're not gonna trigger me that easily. I'm gonna mark you down, and at the end of the VOD review, I'm gonna find you, and it won't be pretty. Just starting red, pretty normal. Red start for both jungles. So jungle ganks have gotten so aggressive. Like, you need to ward when you have prio because you want to be pushing out, and they're careful of like the level 2 gank from Silas coming in. earlier on. Cled's gonna get pushed in. So someone asking in chat, it's a legitimate question. Silas can steal TSM's engage, so why is CG's engagement bad? That is definitely true. But let's think through that. For that to happen in mid game, what has to happen? Silas has to steal an engage and then do the engage. So, and TSM has to be in a position where they can engage. So it's very conditional in that sense, where they have to steal the spell first and then set up and then engage. Where if you're doing that, then there's a lot of steps that you have to jump through. Where TSM is, we have our engaged, they're in a position where they can be engaged, let's engage. It's a lot less steps and it's a lot more direct. Nice gank here early from Lyra. This gank is really big in terms of lane control, because burning mana like this early on Quirky for a gank is really bad. Quirky's so good in lane, but the biggest hindrance he actually gets is the kind of the mana management, and when you have to burn mana like this, it just becomes, it's where Quirky laning can be kind of awkward. You get ganked a lot and you have to spend your mana in awkward ways. Luckily enough for Bjerg, both mid laners decided to take an early back, so able to recover mana really nicely, able to get full stacks on refillable again. This gank was so tragic. If this gank worked, game changes completely. I'll talk about all the steps that happen if this gank works. So, I mean, Spica could have Q-flashed to get this gank, but this gank doesn't work, right? And so I'll talk about the big what if this gank worked. What if this gank worked and Huni died early and the wave is in a bad spot? What would have happened? Where would Spica go after he gets this kill? He would go kill double golems. What would he do after killing double golems again if Huni's TPing to a lane that's pushed up? Gone back and ganked him. Let's say it doesn't even happen. Let's say that doesn't happen and Huni just TPs back to turret and he plays it really safe. Huni doesn't have flash. Spica hits level 6, comes back top, kills Huni again when he doesn't have flash. Like, this one gank failing might be like, oh man, kind of unlucky for TSM, like they failed a gank, but they could have done another gank afterwards with the wave in an awkward situation for Huni, the level 6 follow-up gank, Bjerg diving with package. There's just so many things that opens up if they're able to kill Rumble early while Rumble burns flash. But this one gank not working closes off all those options. Now Sejuani has to farm till 6. And then maybe she can look for a gank again on top side. But it's with Rumble that didn't die early. It's just, the game changes so much with this one gank. If Spica flashes and gets the kill here, oh my god. It might seem small, but the next few plays coming up are just so available. Just Q flash, just fucking Q flash. Oh my god, this was such a crucial gank. Like, the wave is pushing away from Huni. It is near suicide for him to go back up top here. Like, his wave is pushing away. So if he dies, he has to TP here. And where's his jungler? His jungler's all the way down bottom. Like, for Huni to get that top farm, there needs to be so much investment after he dies. Like, if they get the kill here, like, he can't push, he can't go back top until Silas is back top with him. So he's just in such a screwed situation. God damn. Oh my god. Also, here's something that happens we can talk about. So TSM here sees Lyra contesting. They have more members, so they come for this. Demonte has to use his ult early to make sure Lyra can disengage, and Zeben teleports here. Because Zben TP's here, they push bot. And this way, now Clutch gets prio. And TSM's in a situation where they have to go deal with the prios. And watch how Clutch plays for tempo immediately. They know TSM has to deal with this wave. They know Bjerg is backing. Instant TP onto Dragon. No delay. Stays very ahead on tempo. And can start. There's something Clutch has been really good about, like how they stay on top of objectives. Bjerg TP'd back. They moved after they cleared bottom. Rumble's moving, Kled is moving. Now Rumble TPing here. Like just Clutch is doing everything in their power to be first to Dragon and to set up properly. Here's a big mistake though. So the whole point of this choke is when people are crossing through, it's very narrow. So Huni's using his ult right now, but all he wants to do is wait until more people are on this choke and then use ult. So his ult here is kind of bad. You can see it didn't hit very much people other than Spica. And then after that, he's out of positions. They're able to get him. After that, Spica flashes, stuns Vulcan. They're able to kill him too. Clutch did so many things correct to get that dragon. And if Huni was just a little bit more patient with his ult and wait until more people were on the choke, this would have been so different. Like Huni TP'd from here to here. Like he TP'd this distance to make sure they can be grouped up for dragon first. TSM now decently ahead. A kill on Vayne, a kill on Quirky. One thing that's important for them is to get the Kled ahead of the Rumble and be able to have a stronger side laner. Like this dive is just so undoable. I would have loved if they used these resources to be threatening topside. Cause they have a Vayne and a Braum, it's really hard for them to wave control. And Sivir and Tahm Kench can clear the wave really easily, and they're also incredibly hard people to dive. And Lyra is also waiting here, so this dive is getting read perfectly. It's just such a hard situation to execute on. Almost 10 minutes. So Vulcan would have had his stopwatch also. Kill Huni. No stopwatch. He died once. He might have flash, but he's a Rumble, so his wave's gonna be in a bad spot. Like, you want to snowball the Kled. Like, you want to make sure you're constantly diving and enabling him. I just thought it was really awkward that Bjerg and Spica decided to go bot side. Really nice engage from Smoothie. Here's what I want you guys to consider. This was such a well done dive, or well done gank from TSM. Look at Smoothie, Smooth's here. W flash on top, able to get the ult. Sivir already used spell shield. They're able to kill Vulcan very easily. Let's see what they get out of killing Vulcan. They killed Vulcan. They can build a tempo advantage by resetting here. They don't reset. Vulcan already rezzed. Vulcan's already back on the map. Smoothie's not on the map yet. They know TSM delayed their bot lane or recall, setting up for Herald right away, and then just doing Herald. TSM got so little from killing. Like, this is like the problem with this iteration. After the kill, instantly reset and start prepping for next play, where Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. Like, what do you get out of that kill? Like, why do you stay boss side? Just reset instantly and get ready for the next objective, which was Herald. And kill boss side, maybe roam up top side, and try to surprise gank the Rumble to set up your Herald when Fiji's not expecting it. Somehow, it's Clutch Gaming getting killed and still being ahead on tempo. And still being ready, still being more ready than TSM for the next objective. This is kind of what's shitty about having a Vayne, right? Even if you get the kill, it takes you a long time to push in the wave all the way and set up for the next objective. And this is why Sivir is so nice and so strong in competitive play. You get a kill, auto Q, clear the entire wave, you can set up for the next objective immediately. Your lane gets killed, which is what happened for Cody's son. Auto Q, wave clear instantly, and they can't really threaten the dive on you, and you can swap for the next play. Even though it's TSM that gets the kill, just a minute later, through better decision making and through having Sivir instead of the Vayne, Clutch is able to get Herald and take the first turret topside. TSM responds with Dragon, but still they're the slower ones in terms of tempo. They got Dragon, they're still in lane, they still haven't gotten their recall. Clutch already recalled and they're getting back on the map again. There's a certain tempo of things being done. Smoothie needs to recall and get more wars. Vulcan has already recalled and he's walking onto the map with his wars ready. Like all this vision that TSM got, it's going to be worthless when Clutch walks in and takes away the vision and TSM still has to recall. Just Clutch understands macro, vision game, tempo way better than TSM is. Like, look at the situation being created for TSM here. They get mid prio, right? And they get mid prio, they get bottom turret, these are all good. But ultimately, like, these are like good slow macro plays, like that's being done. But it doesn't change the big picture of things, which is important. Like a big picture change is Rumble getting dope and Kled being significantly stronger than Rumble, and like side lane being a problem for TSM, or side lane being a problem for Clutch. But until it comes to that point, it's gonna be really hard. If side lanes don't start being a problem for Clutch and it gets opted into 5v5, TSM has to be so on point about their engages because that's the only tool they have better than Clutch. Like, just look at how the engage is being used for TSM. Remember what we talked about. TSM has better engage tools than Clutch, but Clutch has more damage. So one engage tool gets used to run away. So they used one engage tool. Second engage tool gets used on a tank with cleanse, so he cleanses immediately. Rumble ult, not the greatest, forces Smoothie to flash. Clutch steals the engage, goes back in. And that's kind of done. Like, the situation's done for both teams. I don't know what happened here. This was both so weird for Clutch and TSM. Zben stayed. And remember what we talked about regarding wave clear. Harder for Zben to wave clear. Zben, this was just so weird. He's staying to wave clear and trying to be overly aggressive when Bjerg is moving away. Like, he's trying to get the damage on Sivir and Kench. Demonte able to go in, had to burn flash on the Vayne. Trying to re-engage. It's just so messy. I feel like the way better play for TSM was to reset immediately after they cleared first. But now Bjerg can't go to a side lane. He didn't get to push out. 3 people stuck here. Reset timers are really awkward because they're looking for like residual plays, like when the situation's already over. Look for big plays with Sejuani and Kled ult up. When the situation isn't that, just let these go. Like, you don't have to be overly aggressive and look for these kills. Engage almost up on Spica, engage almost up on Broken Blade. Before these engages come up, TSM has to be careful. And when they don't get a clean engage, they have to let situations go. Really good on Broken Blade to catch them onto here. Burns so much of his HP. Remember what we talked about. They have to get clean engages, and they have to make full use of their engage tools. Here, Huni off to the side. I would have loved to seen like Spica throw ult over Huni, like ulting this. The awkward thing here is though, he throws ult here, stuns Huni, Vulcan just eats him and starts walking. Even though Huni is like a nice target to be engaged on, like disengage from Clutch is pretty strong. And also Huni can reverse ult too. So after they botch their engage, look at on the exit, like Spica queued in, right? Gets hit by his own ult stolen from Lyra, and then now he has to run. If Huni didn't botch this ult, it would be even worse. Like they get picked off on the way out. And this isn't even the worst case situation. If Huni got a good ult there, that would have been absolute disgusting bad situation. TSM botched their engage, and on the exit they get punished, and this is kind of the situation. They lose dragons, they lose turret. They just have to be so clean about getting the engage, get the kills they need, take the objectives, and then reset. Yeah, but anyways, here's TSM getting punished on their exit. Feels so bad. God, this was the god-awful situation. I really want you guys to pay attention to what's going on bot lane. Look how defensive Huni has to play versus the Kled. Like, the Kled is building prio. And this is the situation TSM would rather be in. Like, Kled on the far side, and situations getting created like Kled pushes in. Oh, someone shows mid. Vayne walks up, uses her Blade of Ruin King, and Kled uses ult to flank that person. That would be an excellent situation for TSM right now. Like, they don't want to take fights topside. They want to wait until someone pushes. Someone has to show mid when Vayne is pushing, right? Like, Vayne plus Kled is going to be able to threaten kills on anyone that shows mid. But instead, like, what's going on? Like, why are we starting a fight topside? Why is Vayne and Kled like getting forced to come into top lane instead of having people come into them? It just makes no sense that TSM is fully opting into this. Like, this is the fight where they get 5-0 ace, but the problem isn't them getting 5-0 ace. The very problem is that they're taking this fight here. There's a fight mid lane that it's going to be good for TSM. Keep them spread out, have someone show mid lane, and actively like take that fight using the Kled to roam. Every champion in League of Legends does something different. Every champion in League of Legends is able to threaten things in a certain way, and they don't utilize any of that. So that's why this feels bad. Not because this is a bad fight, but if they don't opt into this, Clutch would have been in an awkward situation where they have to send someone mid. I just don't understand. There is a play available directly for TSM, and they opt into it. If there's a fight that's looming, they just opt into it. Doesn't matter if the setup is good, doesn't matter if there's a better play. If there's just something available, they just snap onto it. I mean, Kiana ult here is really good, but the bigger problem is, why is this fight happening in the first place? The fight selection itself is bad. It's not the execution. Like, half the battle in pro play is how are you taking these fights? Like, just look at these fight selection. TSM's biggest problem isn't oh, we suck as a team because we suck at team fighting. The biggest problem is look at some of the fights we're taking, guys. Like, this is just god awful. If you're Tony, what are you saying watching this game live from green screen? Probably like, oh my gosh, fuck, blah blah blah. Like, when coaches are watching, all they do is complain about the players. Every coach is the same. Whenever you're watching from the green room, all you're doing is complaining about, oh my god, we practiced this. We literally just talked about not doing this. And then as soon as the players walk in, you're like, guys, we tried our best. Next game, we really need to focus on this. Let's not dwell about what went wrong. But next game, we're going to focus on this. We're going to fix this, and we're going to win. Or you say some bullshit like, guys, the last game was a draft problem. I didn't give you guys the tools, so no worries. Let's reset our mind. I'll tell you guys the solution. Everyone go to the bathroom and we'll talk. TSM can't win straight up fights anymore. Even when they engage like this, like Rumble use stopwatch, and also there's Kench, like unless they get a clean one shot, like they can't win fights anymore. There's way too much damage on the other side. Oof. Fight selection, not fight execution. That's the problem, remember? Ugh. Lyra just missed Sejuani ult completely too. DeMonte actually, I mean, I hope I'm mentioning how well Clutch played, but DeMonte, Cody, Lyra, Huni also, like everyone on Clutch really stepped up. Vulcan also, Vulcan's always been good. At this point, like, the fight selection thing doesn't even matter. Game gets to a point where nothing really matters. Game gets to a point where if you're behind enough, nothing really matters. And this is one of those games where nothing really matters anymore. They have to like one-shot someone while the Tom Kench is like picking his nose or something. They're just not gonna one-shot someone, and the fights don't matter. Well, that's game 2. I heavily criticize the Vayne pick, but more so than that, I heavily criticize the fight selection. Alright, on to the next game. Alright guys, we have game 3. Let's see what kind of adaptations are made. Rumble ban, love it. Yumi first, expected. GP, Gangplank Bank, GP Rumble Band, really like these two. It's going to be Ezreal Sona if I remember correctly. Forgot what TSM bans last year. Silas, okay. Just sniping out things they felt like made it really uncomfortable for them. Akali first pick again. They're really hesitant to give Clutch Akali. They been banning it on purple and first picking it on blue. By banning Silas, they opened up Tristana. Oh, Skarner Trist is first rotation. Ugh. The fact that TSM can't punish this. Skarner is extremely weak on... I'd say extremely weak, but it's definitely on the weaker side for his first clear. Being able to get proactive jungles earlier on with Akali, threaten Trift, threaten the 2v2s. Zyra Khan again into Sivir. This matchup, and this trade for TSM has been so bad. I really don't like them constantly taking Zyra Khan and giving Cody Sivir. I think it's only on the 4th game where they started to really target the Sivir, and it's always this relation too. TSM doesn't take Jarvan early, Clutch Gaming gets Sivir, and then Clutch bans Jarvan. That's one of the biggest weaknesses of Sivir. It's shitty when you have to play versus Jarvan. It's shitty when people draft stuff like Jarvan Rumble. TSM's been banning Rumble and not taking Jarvan early and constantly opting into Seju, so the Sivir value for this comp becomes so fucking good. They're giving them situations where Sivir is Cody's most comfortable champion, Sivir's good into the matchup they're playing, and Sivir isn't getting punched by any of her counter picks. I think the counter pick they had earlier was Vayne. I think Cody played well this series, but TSM constantly provided a situation for Cody to shine. What is it gonna be? Sedge or Alistar Morgana ban again? Irelia ban because they're afraid of matching it with Sejuani Irelia. Karma ban this time. I think they just picked Nautilus into Rakan again. Seju, this is just back to game 1 draft. Seju Aatrox. Okay, that's not bad. Just so much of TSM's draft is we have a strong 2v2 top side and very little utilization of it. At least they stepped off of Kled. Cho'Gath. Azir. So Clutch actually ends up being able to play a decent Tristana Azir, which I was shocked by. I knew Demonte had an okay Trist, but Huni playing Azir, Demonte, it's just unexpected of them. Their solo laners have been so much about playmaking, so them having this kind of depth shows how prepared Clutch was and how under the radar they kind of flew in the last few weeks. Because, yeah, I mean, them playing a stronger backline comp than Azir, Triss, Sivir, and being really competitive with TSM and really utilizing how much of a lane prio that Triss is able to build. How much of a control game they're able to play. They end up losing this game because they mess up in terms of being able to outscale, and they got antsy with engages and allowing TSM to engage on them and making mistakes. But yeah, they're just them being completely functional, them able to play this and having that extra layer. Yowza. TSM can't even execute game plan 1, where Clutch is forced onto game plan 2 and they're still showing just proficiency with it. Win conditions for both comp. This is we have a stronger backline, we want a team fight comp. Azir, Trist, Sivir, this is one of the strongest backlines available. For TSM, we want to flank. It's strong backline versus good engage tools. Rakan's a great engage tool, Akali's a good flanker, Seju's a good engage, Broken Blade is a good flanker, or Aatrox is a good flanker. So they have 4 engage tools, and Clutch has a really strong backline. If Clutch maintains the backline, and it's tanks up front with 5th to 5th fight, it's really good for Clutch. If TSM's able to flank, if they are able to create awkward angles, if they're able to get on top of the Triss, the Sivir, the Azir, and the fight is really messy, it's really good for TSM. Those are the major win conditions that you can look at. Is there a reason Clutch more or less pushed TSM to play Seju here, then ban it in round 2? The only thing they're really afraid of was the Jarvan into Sivir. Other than that, they're super happy for TSM to have a tank up front. Same pathing for Lyra. No leash Predator 3 camps. Oh, so show you something interesting Spica does. So he's low HP. Look at his HP. When you have Talisman and you have AoE spells, you can use it on the race. Like Rumble Jungle will do this too, where he burns it and then you're able to get so much HP back. I think this is a game where TSM's able to solo kill boss side with Snooty. Here's the thing about AD carries in general in lane. So we've seen stuff like Lucian played in mid lane. We've seen stuff like Caitlyn played in mid lane sometimes. And then now with Tristana, AD carries are actually really fucking good in lane. Like, they have range, they have damage, a lot of them have disengage and dashes. Like, they're great laners, but they're terrible in 2v2 situations, and they're terrible in all-ins. So that's how Bjerg wants to play versus Tristana. He wants to create all-in situations. He wants to trade flashes, allow Sedru to have flash, and Sedru flash ganks when Trist doesn't have flash. Like, this is the kind of situations you want to create versus AD carries. Non-controlled lanes, a lot of ganks, a lot of all-ins. Let's see if they utilize that or not. Because if not, people wouldn't play mages in mid lane. Like, they would just play AD carries all the time. Great first blood from Smoothie. Vulcan made a mistake, didn't buffer his hook, didn't auto. He just had to proc Aftershock any way possible. Flash out, hook out, just didn't do anything, and TSM's able to get a nice first blood. Yep, in full vision. Vulcan walked up, didn't buffer the hook, and then died. Like, Bjergsen being down CS to Trist isn't that alarming. You can be down CS. AD carries are incredibly good in lane, as I talked about. It's the fact that they never really pressure the Trist in lane that's the problem. Both team fighting for river control. Tanner can help with the lane because he's Tristana and can push up more. Look at top lane. Aatrox being down CS to Azir is also really normal. Like, TSM has lanes that lose but win in gank situation and win in all-in situations. But the all-ins and the ganks aren't really happening. Spica's not getting things off. It's just full on farm fest. Why Lyra's waiting here is he's afraid of Spica doing this and waiting in the brushes while Huni's pushing out. Yeah, that's why he's warding and checking here. He's being protection for Huni. He's not being like he's not trying to actively gank for Huni. He's trying to create situations where Huni can safely push and doesn't have to worry about Spica. But the focus on bot lane is something I really don't understand. TSM constantly does this, where I feel like they don't understand which lanes they need to be playing towards. Kill the Azir, kill the Tristana without cleanses. It really gets nothing done by being bot side. They back up. Now what? Like top side and mid is gonna bleed so much playing versus these range champions. Also, why Lyra plays really safe here is because they have bot side prio and they can roam. Like face checking and finding an Akali is usually a dream scenario for the Skarner, but when bot lane can run like this, they have to let it go. Dragon for Herald, really bad trade. In a game about tempo, in a game where it's so much easier for Clutch to take turrets, like I really hated what TSM's doing. Like why is like Huni never ganked? Why isn't Huni pressured once by Spica? Like why is TSM's game plan we're gonna get bottom turret while giving up top side of the map, never ganking Tristana, like giving up Rift Herald, losing first turret, like losing mid turret like this? Why is that the game plan? Oh, it's just so brain dead. I'm not sure if it's players incorrectly adapting in game or TSM actively deciding to pressure boss side while giving up Rift Herald. Maybe rookie jungler. I mean, even with the rookie jungler, like you talk about game plans before, and the game plan should be pressuring the Azir. Game plan should be pressuring the Trist. Nice kill on Skarner, but it really doesn't change. Triss still gets to freely pressure whatever lane she's in. She hasn't been ganked once. The one gank and the one proactive play they have done is on mid lane and towards bot side, but it's never on the Trist or the Azir. I think Trist and Azir without flash or without cleanses are the most vulnerable parts of Clutch's comp, and they never got taken advantage of. So the thing about TSM taking this turret is Clutch is already on this one and Huni's pushing bot side. TSM can't threaten second turret and they're gonna have to respond to this, and they also have to respond to this. So even though they're ahead on tempo and they're getting this, like cause they can not handle the other two lanes getting pushed in, it's not gonna end well after this. They have 3 people here who have to make a journey all the way down here, and then they have to deal with bot lane afterwards. Clutch can reset on tempo. It just ends up becoming 1-for-1 trade with TSM having to respond afterwards. So this is a really good situation for TSM, because Clutch has to walk in through this small choke. And Clutch got really greedy by going in for this and not giving it up. They don't have vision here, and they're not a comp where they're they're a comp that sucks when they have to walk into people. Like they want to create situations where they're already positioned, they already have vision, they already have control on an objective, and TSM has to walk into them. When they have to walk into them with like Azir, Tristan, Sivir, it feels so awkward. Yeah, when they're the ones having to walk in, it's so fucking awkward and bad for them. A little bit of overchase, really bad for TSM here. Oh, I hated what they did. So they split 1-4 here. They either all back out boss side or all back out mid side. Because they split like this, look at the situation it creates. They all split it, and then Bjergsen gets picked off. If they all stay on the same side, this doesn't happen. They don't lose the dragon so freely either. TSM on the exit, that's where it's catching them out the most. Great initial kill. Just get the dragon after. No need to chase. But this over chase gets Zben hella damage, forced ult. Bjerg tries to go over for Huni. Just that over chase during the little choke and not going on dragon and getting split 1-4. Games eventually you're gonna hit a state where Azir and Trist have their DPS items and also defensive tools like stopwatch and QSSs, and they're not gonna be in threat to get one shot anymore. Really good on Demonte to lip here. And also, after Demonte survives this, Huni could have stayed bot and pushed, like Sivir and Nautilus could have pushed here too, and that would have been better for Clutch. But they decided to TP because they thought they could get a fight afterwards. Good ult from Svika, denying the engage from Lyra. If Lyra got the engage here, that means one person died for sure. Really good job on their part to deny the engage. And this gives Broken Blade time to push up bottom. Doesn't have to deal with Azir for a bit. Oh. Sad thing here is though, even with TSM has more kills, they play the map so much worse. That was like the one good thing about TSM, one thing you could always trust them on. Like they have a lot of veterans, Bjerg, Zeben, Smoothie to a certain extent, like, and they had good shot calling in mid and late game, but they lost that completely. Remember what I talked about? TSM needs to be going on their backline. And then, yeah, this is the problem with Rakan versus Nautilus. Look at what happens to him here. Gets the knock up, and then gets pulled afterwards. So even when he's Eing, like he's taking double turret shot. Like, it's really hard for Rakan to function versus a Nautilus versus a Skarner. While that's happening, Demonte's pushing side lanes. Even when they get the kill here, it's for a second tier turret. Like the Azir and Tristana are getting to unstoppable points. Like Tristana, Blade the Ring King, Fan and Dancer, Flash, Ultimate, like she's gonna hit a point where she becomes so impossible to kill, especially when it's Azir and Tristana standing on the same side. I even forget how TSM won this game, but the game's just getting worse and worse. Like TSM's not accelerating the game enough, while clutch carries are getting fed and just picking up so much farm across the map. In a sense, this game should have been a 3-0, or this series should have been a 3-0. Jesus. Good kill on Spica. Can start Baron, doesn't have to worry about the jungle. Oof. We can look at this here. So this is the one timing where Smoothie can be really effective, because there's no ultimate on Nautilus, so Rakan is like finally free to do whatever he needs to do. So a little bit of mistake from Lear here. When he does this, Smoothie is so free, because Nautilus no longer has ult, Skarner no longer has ult. Now Smoothie is free to do whatever he wants. Got double knock up, 4 spell shield from Sivir, got knocked away and then eat back in a nice spot. Demonte made a mistake. Like, he should have not jumped in here. If he stays with us here, just look. Oh, let me back up a little bit more. Look at Demonte. Your job as Tristana here is hitting front line. Hit. Just here, stay with the Sivir, stay with the Azir, stay within, and like this backline can just bulldoze over. He jumped in to finish Smoothie, which is really fucking bad. Like, as a Tristana, you're not like the one responsible for finishing kills. You're responsible for staying with the backline and just hitting. Imagine he's staying here and like hitting Broken Blade with Cody and Huni. Broken Blade dies. Smoothie's low HP. Zaben has lower range than him and he has to back up. If Demonte played the fight differently and they just maintained the backline after TSM used their engage tools, Clutch would have destroyed this fight. Like, look at Broken Blade. Like, he should have just died to Demonte along. Like, he has red buff. Red buff Trist and Sivir and Azir hitting same target. TSM doesn't have a chance at the fight. Clutch made a mistake of giving an opening for Rakan. And also, Demonte just ending the fight. Able to pick up Baron afterwards. I'm from Zaben's point of view, like, he's just so happy that Demonte decided to jump in here. And finally, good engage. This is the kind of engage they needed. Sejuani ulting from the fog so they don't see it. Rakan can just go on Skarner, doesn't get Nautilus ulted. The timings that things happened in was so crucial for TSM. If the game just went by for a minute or two longer, it would have been Clutch setting up on Baron and TSM forced to walk in on Clutch, gonna get Skarner ulted, gonna get Nautilus hooked, and all three of Clutch's backline can just target whoever got like ulted. Like, even champions like Seju can get insta versus a comp like this. If Skarner ults Seju before she's able to use Gargoyle Plate, like, that Seju will get bursted. I think this is where Huni kind of tries to overplay on Azir and then the fight game just ends. And also, I think Huni and Demonte should have both bought stopwatches. Stopwatches are god tier items on carries. It's 600 gold to get a chance at outplaying any kind of engage. Here, I mean, people will talk about, oh, it was just unlucky timing, but the fact that Huni's trying to go for an engage here is just not the play. Yep, and then that's how the cookie crumbles. Double inhib down, Zaya at uncontrollable items. That timing from Huni. I'm trying to think if like at this point in the game if it's Clutch is like if Clutch can get back to that scaling point, but the item difference is gonna be way too much. 3 items on Sivir, 3 items on Triss, like 3.5. Zven has 1, 2, 3, 4 items, like 4.5 items. Like he's just way ahead. And he's also, it's with Rakan. Like 4.5 items ahead with Rakan on a Zayad. Like Clutch's win condition of we can melt your front line before you melt our front line is non-existent. And then the same situation that we talked about Clutch wants to be, or Clutch wanted to force onto TSM. Checking into them where they don't have vision. A lot easier for TSM. Yep. Now Smoothie can flank. Got the flank off. Knock up on both Azir and the Trist. This is the problem. TSM can show brilliance like this, but they never could build their own leads, and their early mid was just so dumb. They built their biggest lead off of Clutch like fucking up a fight. This game could have realistically been, or this series realistically could have been a 3-0. Alright, let's get ready for next game, and holy fuck, I'm hungry. Editor, cut it here. Alright, we can listen to this part while I grab food, and then we can start the next one.
We get plates on the top side, you probably get hell control if unless the enemy bot lane snowballs enough. And I think we kind of saw what was happening there. It was actually basically what was to be expected. It's just that the soul lanes of CG actually got more than the dual lane of TSM.
Yeah, by all accounts, right, we're looking at the early phase for Clutch Gaming and saying, okay, yes, a few of those kills went in favor of TSM because they were able to force plays, but turret plate gold was going well in favor of Clutch, and that Tristana was
I
really
need healthier snacks. I have like
event.
beef jerky and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, the Triss was doing Triss things, right? That's what Tristana is meant to do here, and the Buster Shot is actually a pretty creative idea to get him Bjergsen out of the fight, but those plates did amount to a big lead that I think Clutch Gaming felt like they were in the driver's seat, and it was only through their own kind of botchiness that the fight and game got away from them.
Well, then let's take a look at the game-defining moment,
Yes.
because it is Clutch in the driver's seat, opting to go for a Baron call. It's TSM's response that will ultimately net them a pentakill for this man on your screen here.
This all starts with a pick on the jungler, so Clutch Gaming feels really confident going for this, but then they go for this engage, and notice that Huni and Cody-san were not immediately there to burst down the Akali, and so Broken Blade and Sven have a complete field day in cleaning up house after.
Yeah, I mean, that was the big thing. The Aatrox and Xayah being able to get a lot of damage down. They're also the last two people alive to clean up the entire fight, so they did a really good job in that. And I would say, like, that's not the greatest look for how you win a series. Like, you can't repeat that situation where the enemy team messes up a 4v5. So I think TSM should not feel like great about this game, but I did like that they were at least still proactive over the course
I think
of the
they
game.
should feel awesome. They look terrible in the first two. This is like, oh my God,
you feel
we can
good
do
because
it.
you won, but it's like we got a long road ahead. We were down again in this game, but they were still confident, at least in their playmaking. They forced plays around bot lane, they forced plays around mid lane. They didn't all work out, but they were not just like heads low waiting for the enemy team to throw or kill them.
I mean, let me insert you into this position, all right? You are on TSM right now.
TSM with the owner change would be the end of TSM as we know it.
That's what I wanted. Okay, but you know, this is the way you find
It
your
will
way
never
back
be
into
the
the
same
series
again.
with a win here in Game 3. What is the conversation like for you then backstage though about the victory? How good you feel about it, and again, you know, how much of it was gifted to you, perhaps?
I mean, I don't think you really realize how much was gifted to you in the moment because you just see your own mechanical play. So I think especially confidence players such as Broken Blade, such as Sven, who are building themselves up, now are actually going to feel a lot better coming to Game 4 simply because they got those all plays coming in. So I think the conversation is going to be, yeah, we actually won a game. We can win. They're not as good as we made them out to be. And I think that's basically the main point of the conversation now.
I think
You can actually see Reggie saying that right now if you read lips.
Yeah. Again, Crumbs. I'm not so sure about that one. Clutch will return to blue side as it's Game 4, and they have side selection. They've won one on red, one on blue. I'm coming back over to you, Mark, though, remaining on the TSM point, because we just talked about this proactivity in the game, and that, hey, that's a good thing to see. From red side, are they still able to grab similar tools? Or are they still able to find the same exact things they want?
I don't really care if I go into a game and my teammates make mistakes that are as bad as mine, or maybe even worse. I only care about the fact that I made a mistake that was bad. So in team finals, even though in Game 3, you know, PB got caught and we lost the Dragon fight, that was really important for us, or in Game 4, Bjergsen and Arcadian got double kill 2v2 mid jungle by champions that are scaling while they play on Thunder Rek'Sai, which is really bad too, right? But that doesn't concern me as much because these mistakes, you know, like, I wouldn't say they're okay, because they aren't, of course. They're game-losing mistakes as well. But I can allow it, so to speak, right? But I can't allow myself to make mistakes that are on that level. And the fact that it was in Game 5 is why it will be remembered by people.
Welcome back, everyone, for Game 4. TSM have picked up their first win versus Clutch. You can see Sven on your screen. He wants that redemption arc, wants back onto the big stage in Detroit in the finals. And with a performance like that, that can happen.
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely a very pivotal moment in the game to allow TSM to continue the series. And people will look back on it if they actually pull off the reverse sweep as that very big pivotal moment for the entire series.
Now, something I'm interested to track is something that the analyst desk was actually talking.
What is Clutch 3-0? They're not going to air the Zben interview. Yep, that's what happened. Alright, let's watch. Final game. Alright, let's watch the final. Clutch versus TSM, final game. Clutch opting into the Fame bans, it looks like. It's gonna be Ezreal, Sona, I'd imagine. I would love TSM to ban Yuumi first. There we go. What do they end up banning? Akali. Wow, they are really so down to deny the Akali. Aatrox ban probably because Aatrox as a blind pick really limits Clutch's top 5 picks and Rumble and GP, so that Aatrox ban actually makes a lot of sense. I think this is probably the best 3 bans Clutch can do against TSM. Honestly, not sure about if Sona, Ezreal are the best bans, but Clutch feels like they can't give that at all to TSM. So if they can only get one extra ban, and I definitely agree with Aatrox being the best ban towards it. Con again opens up GP Rumble without Aatrox being banned. Really dangerous for TSM. I like the final adaptation they did make though. What did they first pick? Silas? Let's see what they ended up taking. I think they took Sivir Jarvan. Finally taking away Sivir from Cody-san, and also taking Jarvan here makes it so they don't get the free Silas into Sejuani matchup. I think this was an adaptation they should have made by game 2, but better late than never. Just at this point now, yeah, the top side picks become really problematic because Aatrox is gone. What are you playing into Rumble? I mean, Kai'Sa into Sivir, not the best pick, but it's just an okay pick, and it's a Cody-san pick. What are you playing into Rumble? Oh, Braum. What's their obsession with Braum? I just don't really understand. I'm trying to think what top lane pick they should have taken here first, but Braum is definitely not the answer. Something aggressive that can play on Rumble. Irelia ban, that's a Demonte ban. Azir ban also for Clutch. I guess Azir's the pick. Actually, Azir's the pick that Broken Blade actually would have done into Rumble now that I think about it. All-Star ban, very common ban from TSM for their second rotation. Oh, Vlad into Rumble. Not that great in lane, but can be really good in team fights if Clutch has a lot of backline. They only have Kai'Sa though. If they took like Corki or Azir, the Vlad pick would make a lot more sense. But when there's only like one real target, the Vlad pick feels so awkward. Like Vlad, Jarvan, Sivir, Braum all make sense as a comp, like it's cohesive and it's gonna be a good team fight comp. But overall, individual lane matchups and how they have to play out early game, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Ugh. Save 10th pick to pick up Corki. Corki into Silas is also a playable matchup for Silas too. Just so weird that they saved up their final pick and it's just Corki. Trying to think of better matchups. Into the Silas. Maybe there are slightly better matchups that I can't think of, but it just... TSM's comp isn't like a comp with a lot of playmaking potential. It's just a good teamfight comp. Good teamfight comp, nice engage. It makes TSM is just really one-dimensional as a team right now. Unable to play side lanes. Only win condition is team fight. It's not like Clutch is drafting heavy side lane picks either, but they're just executing better on the early objectives. with Rek'Sai though, there is some onus on Clutch to actually make plays, so let's see what they get done early. Early bot lane gank, fairly obvious. TSM doing a good job of playing defensive. Also, Jarvan was there to counter gank that if it did happen. And Rumble versus Vlad is a nightmare matchup early. You get pushed in, you don't really have a way of pushed out, you lose all priority. Kind of hard to gank as a Vladimir side also, because Vladimir is someone that scales incredibly well with items. You get to double dip on stats because of your passive, and also cooldown is really efficient on you as a stat. So as you get items, you become way more powerful than other champions with item, but early game, you are one of the weakest champions. Like early game, none of your spells really hurt. Like the fact that you're kind of hard to kill doesn't really matter. Just forced to burn TP and forced to play defensive. And then this like quirky into Silas pick just doesn't seem to be achieving much. Oh, I hate the spot dive setup from Clutch. I think they should be pressuring topside a lot more. Like trying to dive with Sib or Braum feels so worthless. If it was for the invade, okay, if the setup was to do an invade and the bot dive was just to look, because it looked kind of possible and it was forcing people to show, then I'm okay with it. I think that's what it was. I think they're just forcing a look and the setup is for the second blue. It's not for the bot dive. Yeah, I don't believe Clutch is that stupid. They know that dive is impossible. They're just doing a look, so they're forced to back up and can take the blue away. God damn. They're getting jerked around in both side lanes. Bot side, they don't get prio. Even mid lane builds priority on Bjergsen and they get the blue taken away. Top lane, Rumble's constantly forcing on Vladimir. TSM just has no prio. They can win later on in team fights, but well, let's see if Clutch is gonna give them like a shot at it and take actual bad fights. TSM's engage is very one-dimensional in Jarvan. It's actually a good engage. Jarvan's one of the best engagers. Like the range for Jarvan's engage is really fucking long. When you do EQ flash, it's really hard to dodge, but even if they get a good engage, if it's not with Vladimir flanking properly, if it's not with Quirky Sivir actually following up on the engage, there's a huge chance like Clutch's disengage is just as strong. Like Rumble disengaging on targets that are coming in, Kai'Sa able to dodge out with their E, with their ult, Nautilus ult going down on a Quirky or a Sivir, Silas able to steal the Vladimir ult and returning, stealing the Braum ult and returning. I don't think TSM has taken a single Herald in all 4 games. Every single time Clutch backs, every single time Clutch is able to get Herald and TSM slower. God, just on a fundamental level, TSM without, like, they're on a fundamental level, they were just outmatched. Oof, we need to replay this. Let's do it slower. Starting with ult on Zven able to spell shield it. Turning on Vulcan, able to get a good return. Vulcan's timing on this was really bad. Look at his stopwatch timing. No one's going to be trying to target him right now. Like, no one's trying to target him. The only thing he dodged was Braum ult that no one was going to go on him for. Bad stopwatch timing. Should have waited. Flashed out right immediately. Who when he killed this target? If Vulcan stayed alive a little bit longer with better stopwatch timing, I think it could have been better for Clutch. Demonte played it well afterwards, able to burn flash and stopwatch from Bjerg. Oh, whew. This EQ right here, able to land perfectly on top of him. That was the fight that could have gone horrendous for TSM from the way it started. Like, especially earlier on, like a Rumble fighting and a Vladimir fighting. Like, Rumble is worth 1.5 person earlier on, and Vladimir is worth like half a person or 3/4 of a person earlier on. Just the fact they opted into the fight and it came out kind of even is lucky for TSM. Really nice engage on 2 targets. Holy fuck, how did they get this down? So both teams opting into 1-3-1. Bot lanes are mid now. Vulcan showed here. Ignoring mid lane, going straight for this. Oh man, great ult by Smoothie. He buffered his ult while he was getting knocked up by Nautilus ult, and then he tagged both the Nautilus and the Braum, and the Rek'Sai. Perfectly done from Smoothie and Spicto. Great catch on Demonte too. He stayed trying to get turret and trying to push the wave in, and TSM rotated perfectly. What does it mean buffering ult? So certain ults or certain spells in the game have casting animation, and certain spells in the game have casting time. So casting time and casting animation is a little different. So certain animation you can buffer through. Like whenever a Braum goes up to ultimate, it doesn't matter if you silence him, it doesn't matter if you knock him up. After a certain point, like that animation will play and he'll ult no matter what. So interesting things you can do is if you're about to get stunned, if you're about to get CC'd, you can start casting your spell, and even during the CC, you'll go through the animation and you'll cast your stuff anyways, and that's called buffering. So as the Nautilus ult was about to hit him, Smoothie used his ult, so even as he's getting knocked up, he's using the ult in response, right? That's called buffering. That's what Smoothie did when he was getting Nautilus ulted. He buffered his ult, so he would be kind of eating up the CC duration with his casting to be able to CC the enemy team right away. That's what I mean by buffering. I hope I explained it cleanly enough. Oh shit, let's slow down and look at this. Engage starting on Nautilus. Remember what we talked about? Even when TSM gets good kills, like kind of the return damage and the return spells are what's really difficult. Yeah. Broken Blade coming in. Pretty decent ult. 1 for 2, not bad at all. How did it turn out well for TSM? I actually thought it was going to go horrendous. They start on Vulcan. Oh, Vulcan doesn't have ultimate. He's like 1-2 seconds away from ultimate, so the only thing he did was getting an ignite on Spica. Huni kind of left alone here, stunned. Demonte stole the ult. Return ult and then has to back away, right? Yeah, Huni kind of overcommitted and he got stunned and it gave a good angle for a Broken Blade. Huni was just overextended with Broken Blade coming in. I think they had to play it a little bit tighter after they kill Spica. Like, they don't chase further. They should be talking about, oh, Broken Blade's coming, Broken Blade's coming. Just Rumble in a side lane is constantly a problem. Like, this is the problem with Rumble Vladimir. Oops. So even at this point, Rumble's stronger than Vladimir, so Rumble can push up on the Vladimir and have side lane control. And also, Rumble's stronger than Vladimir in a team fight now still. It's not until Vladimir hits 16, has 3 items, or even 4 items, where Vladimir's more efficient as a character than Rumble. So you have to wait until level 16 until like the champion you counterpick Rumble with is stronger as a counterpick. So that's why I really fucking hate the Vladimir into Rumble matchup. Because if the Vladimir doesn't get enabled, like, god damn, you're just down a character for such a long time. And the other worst thing is, like, the Rumble player you're playing versus, it's his specialty champion. Like, Rumble is very much a specialty champion for Huni. Spica waiting here to trying to get a good engage. Look at how clutch positioned. They know they're gonna come for the engage. Look, look, look. Zben ulted. Look, maintaining distance. Spica can't get a good engage. Rumble. Huni trolled though. Like, everyone else like knows this is coming. And Huni's like off to the side by himself. He should have been tighter knit with the rest of his team, and he should have flashed towards his team, not away. If Huni flashed towards his team and didn't isolate himself, this fight is completely different. Like, imagine Huni plays tighter. He wants to play tighter with his team. And they know Vladimir is coming too. Just play tighter with your team. TSM's forced to engage on you. Ugh. Wait, what the fuck? How did Spica die here? Oh my god. He just went by himself. Now that has to be a miscommunication. Ugh, this just feels so bad. Oh. I'll talk about why this feels so bad. Spica died, but they won the fight early, so there's like somewhat of a what's it called when you invested something and you're cause you invested something you don't want to leave. Oh, fuck. It's called something fallacy. Sunken cost fallacy. There we go. Sunken cost fallacy. Thank you. Sunken cost fallacy. So they won the fight, so they feel like this is their fight to win, So there's a sunken cost fallacy for TSM here, where they're continuing back into it after they lost Spica and after they used their big cooldowns. Trying to go for Demonte. Lyra going in, getting the flash knock up. Cody going in, and there's no one to really challenge him, able to flash out, finish people off. I hate what Broken Blade did here. Charge up my E. I can get the kill on the Nautilus. Nice, I got the kill on the Nautilus. And I burned my flash, which means that it's going to be hard for me to flank the Kaiser later. Kaiser doesn't have flash. Imagine if Broken Blade kept this flash and didn't try to kill the 0-7 Nautilus or 0-3 Nautilus. Like, next fight is so different. Just save your flash for the next fight. Oh, if Spica doesn't ult here, it changes the fight so much too. TSM just clearing out mid lane, and then they're gonna go for Dragon. Was fielding Spica a mistake? Maybe in terms of like, from a management perspective, it's a mistake. But I don't think if they played Acadian, I think the result is exactly the same. From a gameplay perspective, not really a mistake. From a management perspective, pretty big mistake. Spica engaging on Rumble. Kill the Rumble cleanly. Get out. Get out. Get out. That's it. Kill the Rumble 1-for-1. Perfect. Get out. This was such a big mistake from Cody. I'll show you guys how it should have played. So here, after getting out, there's ult on top of Braum, right? Right now, why shouldn't Cody ult? Here, like Cody's ulting in here. If someone tell me why he shouldn't ult here. Because he's gonna die? Not really. So here's the like, so he's ulting here because there's a knockup, and he's like, oh, this is my one chance to ult. Why he wants to fade ult here is he wants to wait until people kind of use their spells. Like right now, Vladimir still has ult. Like they all have their cooldowns. You're so powerful as a Kai'Sa when everyone uses their tools and you ult in, and then people don't have tools to deal with you. Like Demonte is full HP. Like Lyra's coming in here, Vulcan's coming in here. Let your tanks soak up things. Let your tanks soak up the cooldowns, and then you go in when people don't have cooldowns, and you can wipe the board. So yeah, we're gonna play this slower, and then we can kind of see what happened to Cody as he's going in here. He goes in here. Bjergsen uses package, Zeben uses his ult, they use their E, and they just use everything on Cody. And Cody can't stay in the fight for an extended period of time. Like, he has to run away. And he doesn't have HP anymore, so now he can't even fight. And the rest of TSM carries can come in and pick off the tanks. But if Cody waited for Vulcan, for Demonte, and for Lyra to tank and eat the cooldowns, and then they go in, then Cody would have wiped the board. Cody's in a position to carry the team. He just had to play a little bit smarter, and he just had to wait until TSM used their cooldowns. Just wait a little bit, just right here, just wait. Like, look at Demonte, look at Lyra, look at Vulcan, they're full HP. Let them eat the damage, let them eat the cooldown, and as soon as the big cooldowns go down, then you go in. Wait, this is just a situation where you're just 7-0 Kai'Sa and you're like, I can kill everything. Where you can't kill everything. You just have to wait a second or two. Just like Bjergsen package, Broken Blade ultimate, like even Broken Blade EQs, like just waiting for that window to open up slightly more and then going in would have changed that fight completely. And it's really awkward as like Lyra, Vulcan and Demonte, they're also kind of what the fuck, because like they're far behind when Cody's ulting in. So your carry's behind enemy backline while your front line's walking in. But it's still reaching this inevitable point where Kai'Sa's way too strong. And the Vladimir strong point is so far away. Vladimir needs voice staff before he's able to threaten Kai'Sa. Like, this is how Kai'Sa-Vladimir matchup works out. Where throughout the game, Vladimir has kill threat on Kai'Sa once he gets certain items. Like, once he's at 2 items, Vladimir has kill threat on Kai'Sa. And then Kai'Sa buys a defensive item in Stopwatch or Hex Drinker or Maw, and then the relationship flips again where the Kai'Sa is like, I can beat the shit out of you, Vladimir, and then the Vladimir buys voice staff, and then the relationship flips again where the Vladimir is like, no you can't, I can one-shot you again. So until Vladimir gets voice staff, the relationship is like Kai'Sa kills Vladimir. Kai'Sa's not in threat of Vladimir. And also because Kai'Sa 7-0, even when Vladimir does get the voice staff, if she's at like 5 item, 6 item, like the game does, like it doesn't even matter. Just Kai'Sa got massively ahead in that one dragon fight where TSM had that sunken cost fallacy, and the relationship between the AD carry and the threats on TSM completely flipped. I mean, I talked about it again and again, but look at the Rumble versus Vladimir. Like, the Rumble is just still more efficient than the Vladimir. When your counter pick isn't online, and when your counter pick isn't better than the enemy pick 26 minutes into the game, is it really a counter pick? Like, if Vladimir can't be stronger than Rumble, even at this point, is it really a counter pick? I don't know what Smoothie was trying there. God, TSM champ pool actually feels like fucking garbage. That was the best pick they could have. Vladimir into Rumble, and this is what they get. Love this by TSM, blocking off small chokes, forcing them to walk in through that. Silas can't push enough. This is what I mean by tempo. TSM is here, while the wave is here. There's this tempo gap, where Silas has to deal with this first. Really bad ult usage from Vulcan. Missed the hook. Walking up, ulted Bjerg. Bjerg jump out. Ult didn't really hit anything. Rumble's TPing here. They can constantly back out. Oh my god, I hated this return fight. Look at Cody and then look at Broken Blade. This is the most important relationship. Broken Blade landed R. E missed on Cody. If Broken Blade's job is to push Cody away and get Cody low enough where Cody can't fight, and try to hit as much people in the process. He missed E on Cody, so Cody's like full HP with Vladimir ult on him. Cody ulted out after the Jarvan. Broken Blade stuck here. Lyra counter ulted. Broken Blade dies. 2 for 1. Cody got more fed. Broken Blade didn't pick up kills. it's really hard for Sivir to outdo the Kai'Sa in like a multi-flank angle fight. So here's where Sivir is better. When it's like 5 people in a line and another 5 people in a line and they clash like this, then Sivir can be better than Kai'Sa. But when there's a lot of carries and there's a lot of angles and then people diving and people coming in from the flank, Sivir becomes a lot weaker because her bounces don't mean as much and she doesn't have great tools when people are coming in from multiple angles. Like you're Kai'Sa and people are coming in from multiple angles, you have your invisibility, you have your ult, like you just have so many ways to deal with people coming in from multiple angles, where Sivir is always like kite back, kite back, kite back, can't have someone behind me. Like my survivability is my mobility in the ability to kite towards one direction and not have someone behind me. Like Sivir is like Sivir is like kiting back like this, where Kai'Sa is like if someone comes from this angle, you can jump behind them, like you can invis. Like there's so many ways Kai'Sa can deal with things. So even though Sivir's fed and the Kai'Sa's fed, it's just different. Like the game state isn't good for Sivir in terms of the picks. Like Sivir is better than the Kai'Sa when both top laners are tanks. When both ADs are control mages. I guess control mages aren't the best for Sivir due to the range, are more like short range assassins or short range mages. And there's a lot of CC and there's a lot of big spells. TSM doing Dragon while CG just rushes in with their Baron. TSM just felt like they couldn't defend this turret and they rather make their final stand here. But a little bit late, they don't even really get to make the final stand, they just lose turret right away. They definitely did not mean to trade Dragon for 2 turrets. Oh, and also look at the location for this. God, this looks disgustingly bad. Oh my god, look at this Rumble ult right here and Rumble Fire. They're getting double burned with Nautilus ult coming in. Had to burn pull early. Zven and Smoothie lose all their HP. Ultimately, Clutch's goal isn't to fight TSM, it's to take the inhibitors right here, and TSM ends up giving it for free. For what? Inferno? So they get Inferno Drake, they lose 2 turrets and inhibitor without ability to fight. No, it's not good to trade Inferno like that. TSM wanted to take the fight. But finally, Broken Blade has Voice Staff. Oh my god, this... So here, look at the game state. Alright, so for people that think Inferno is better, let's look at the game state here. Here, it's better for TSM to fight with this than it is to fight later. If they fight later, like, okay, so let's say right now if TSM fights, they have, let's give them what? Let's say we give them 30% chance to win a team fight right here. After the Inferno trade, after they lose mid lane and 2 turrets, what's their percentage of winning the fight? Like, percentage of winning the fight goes down dramatically. You lose mid inhibitor, and the next time you fight, you have an inhibitor, you lose an inhibitor, and you're fighting, like, just it becomes much higher. Inferno gives more gold than 2 turrets 30 minutes in. Are you trolling? How much gold do you think Inferno gives, Lark? How much gold do you think Inferno gives? Okay, so how much mid hit isn't even that useful. Inferno gives 500 plus to carry. So it's like So you're saying it's like 350 gold? Look at the situation Clutch is forcing now. TSM's in a situation, if we're Clutch waits here, mid pushes in, they have to deal with it. Situations where they might have to send 1p4 and it can be 1-4. It's not just the pure gold value of what the turrets give. It's also you have to deal with the pressure of lane getting constantly pushed in, and you're taking a fight where one person has to constantly go deal with the wave. You have to constantly deal with person dealing with the wave. Like this is Clutch playing dumb and they didn't wait for mid lane. If they take this fight after mid pushes up and TSM has to send 1, game is way more over. Like you'd rather have a game state where you don't have to deal with the open side lane. But here, I don't know what the fuck Cody was thinking. Look at Cody's positioning here. Just walking up here to get turret hits when they have mid lane pushing. Just really, oh man, this was really messy from CG. All they had to do was wait. Oof. Why isn't Deathcap third better than Boyd? Because Magic Resist is different from Magic Resist is very different from Armor. So Armor with Last Whisper, what happens is it's flat pen then percentage penetration, and also lethality is lethality is penetration before and then percentage penetration after. Where magic penetration is completely different. Magic penetration is percentage first and then flat after. So when you're playing champions like Vladimir and when you have like flat pen plus percentage pen on AP carries, the reduction is just so much more. Just mathematically, Void Staff becomes the single most efficient item. I think the MR breakpoint was 120. Around there, like Void Staff beats almost every item. And when the main targets you're trying to kill, like Kai'Sa has a, whatchamacallit? What's that item? Maw, it becomes so much better. I cannot believe how they lost this. It's fucking blows my mind. They see Huni here and they're still walking up. And the way they're grouped is so bad too. It's literally just like TSM's asking, hey, we're 5-man grouped, come fuck us. Like Broken Blade shouldn't position like this. Vladimir positioning is right here. As people come in, you go in like here. That's what Vladimir does. Why are you with rest of your team? Why is Vladimir not off to the side and threatening? Like why aren't you doing exactly what Huni's doing? You should be here. Oh my god, this is so bad. This Rumble ult. Bjerg out of the fight. Everyone else chunked. The fact that they're grouped like that was just end of it. Whoop. That's how TSM's legacy dies. There it is, boys. Honestly, props to Clutch. I talked about a lot from TSM's perspective, but Clutch played this entire series really well, and they put TSM in awkward spots, and they kept forcing mistakes out of TSM. Their draft, their champion pool was way better. How they handled their early objective was way better. I think they got Herald in all 4 games. It's just massive props to them. As for TSM, we'll see for Gauntlet, but I don't know. I can't see things going any better than it is now. It's just, there's so many fundamental problems. TSM's biggest strength from Spring Split didn't carry over at all. sure, the meta changed. Like, it is no longer Irelia, Sylas, Akali, Ride's meta, where TSM has two of the best solo laners. Like, remember back in spring, when you rank teams by solo laners, TSM was first or second. It was either TL or TSM having the best solo laners, and the game was all about solo lanes. Like, now, where does TSM rank in terms of solo lanes? TL first, C9 second. There's an argument for CLG third. Argument for Golden Guardians better than TSM in terms of solo lanes. Like, it just drops down so much, and their bot lane became, I don't know what happened, but they're not functional as a duo anymore. It realistically shouldn't matter though. You don't randomly lose all your fundamentals because of meta shift. I mean, meta shift played a part in it, but they just lost their fundamentals that they built up. TSM bot lane was really good this series. They were functional, and this was Ziben's best form out of summer. This was Ziben's best form by far out of summer.